Hello, strangelings. Welcome back to the parlor. So today I'm here to talk on a subject that is, well, some of my birthright work, I guess. Of course, you guys know I'm here to fight spiritual psychosis. I'm here to help you guys heal and feel happier. I'm also here, to make sure that you understand that the things that make you different actually make you stronger, not weaker. But one of the big things is fighting the abuses in the system. You see, none of this works if the abusive system continues to abuse. So, today I wanted to talk about a specific component of the control of the system. We'll start with circumcision. Now, to talk about this, I have dated and had sex with both circumcised and uncircumcised men. I also am a mother of 3. 2 of my children were born male, and 1 was born female. None are circumcised. Now, of course, we know circumcision is something that is supposed to be a covenant with the Christian God Yahweh. And the Christian God demanded this as a sacrifice to prove their loyalty. And the idea is you pull up a bit of skin and you snip it. Now, of course, this started to become a bit more mainstream, especially in the United States in the 50s. Now, when it became more mainstream in the 50s, there were a lot of non-Christians who couldn't understand why they should want to have it done. So, of course, they put out this whole idea that it's about cleanliness. If you cut it off, you're more able to keep your penis clean. And of course, we know now that there's been some international information come out over the last few decades that female circumcision is a thing too, that a lot of countries actually do embrace. Now, these are the reasons we've been stated that circumcision is a good idea. And if you ask a good portion of the doctors, they'll tell you your infant son won't remember a thing. I'm going to give you some truth here. They're lying to you. They might not know that they're lying to you, but they are lying to you. Yes, your son, when he turns 21, isn't likely to be like, "Oh, I can't believe you had me circumcised. I remember that day. It hurt so bad." No. But deep in his subconscious, the first couple of days of his life, not only was he suddenly pushed such a heavy way into this cold, bright world, but then, within a few days, he was served severe pain in a region that he probably didn't even know existed. He might have, though, because there is evidence of male fetuses playing with their penis in utero. So he might have known it existed, but he certainly didn't know it could feel like that. I'm sure. Trust me, these things are not lost to the memory. They're just lost to the surface. Now, though they have given all of these excuses as to why, and they did for a while, a few different times, try a really hard campaign of shaming mothers who did not want to have the circumcision done. Trust me, I know. All the damn shame they tried to serve me, when I actually am scientifically minded enough that I did my own actual research between talking to the mother of the non-circumcised male that I was a companion with at any given point in my life, to literally looking up the medical research, to having to deal with a man who, for some reason, accidentally received 2 circumcisions when he was a baby. and the scar tissue differences that I could note from that. My conclusions are circumcision of males specifically. Circumcision fills only 2 needs they think they have. 1, you shorten the length of the penis because you see the foreskin is only shaft skin from the penis that, when not erect, folds over top of the head, so that if you're nude running through a dusty field, nothing gets in. And yes, actually, it works. You see, you got to remember, guys, before the whole Yahweh thing ever happened, we were savage creatures who had fur instead of clothing, who ran around everywhere because it was a great way to get around for us at the time. So, over time, the penis of the males have developed this foreskin to protect from everything. And not only that, but number 2, when both male and female circumcision is considered, the only other thing I can think that it serves is to make the most sensitive nerve clump in your pleasure centers almost inert. Yeah, it's true. In fact, I have personally known men who have been trying to refeel, really, there's no other way to say it, refeel. They've been trying to recover the foreskin, not knowing that the only reason the foreskin won't pop over the head of the penis is because if it's not long enough, it has quite a bit to get through before it's long enough to go over, making you less safe, less clean. Now, as the foreskin of the penis is meant for keeping the penis clean, let's go to the next subject on this dual subject video, because the next part is funny. You see, for centuries, women have been tormented in all forms of ways, including and not limited to death, because of the fact that they have a torn hymen. You see, for the longest time, for some reason, we as a people believed that the hymen was like a skin over top, and we didn't seem to realize that the skin could not actually be like that. You see, for women, we have this period of time once a month where we slough blood and tissue out of our uterus because we did not get impregnated. You see, that blood and tissue is the baby's safety net. It keeps the baby safe while we move around and live our lives if we had gotten pregnant. And if this were to be sloughed off with a sealed hymen, no holes, guess what? That tissue, that blood, stays within the vaginal canal. And there, eventually it would dissolve, deteriorate away, all of that, sure. But not before it's had enough time to attract the attention of enough of the microbiome within our bodies to start causing infections, septicemia, death. We, in fact, basically have a tissue with a hole in it. That hole is anywhere in it, but there's a little hole in it. And that actually serves, unlike the hood of the clit as is assumed, that tissue actually serves as the exact same thing as the foreskin. It's there so that we can discharge as needed By the way, blood and tissue is not all the stuff that gets discharged in a female body through the vaginal canal. Because of the fact that it's there like that, it does not take in debris. There's much less debris that is able to get in there. 2, I gave you a 1 finger for a 2. 2, the discharge actually washes down and does a much more thorough clean, as the hymen is there to ensure that it can clean all the way down. Now, for generations, we have believed it was okay to punish women, whether it was their man would leave them at the altar because, oh, she's not a virgin, or places where, even to this day, there are places where women will get murdered because her hymen is tore. Funny thing about hymens, however, is unlike the foreskin, they are an extremely thin, soft and sensitive tissue. The hymen never breaks. And nothing that happens to the hymen is actually permanent. You can actually technically tell how long it's been since a woman's had sex by their hymen, kind of. Now I say kind of for a reason. 1, I know for a fact a hymen grows back. I know there will be people who argue that it does not. I know for a fact it grows back. My mother had 6 years between my father and my stepfather, and she wasn't really all that sexually active. So the hymen was not constantly tore. Then, when I was about 14, my stepfather left the house. Now, of course, my mother didn't pass away until I was 21, about to turn 22. So that's a good 5, 6, almost 7 years. And guess what her OBGYN said? Her hymen was growing back. She even made this great joke about it to a taxi driver one day about how maybe if she doesn't have sex for 17 years, she could be a virgin again. Except, virginity cannot be told by a hymen, unfortunately. Remember how I said it is thin, soft, sensitive tissue? Well, it is so thin, soft, and sensitive that it can be broken or tore, as would be more correct, extremely easily. How easily? We're talking jumping jacks, guys. Jumping jacks. The calisthenic most of us learned in school. Girls and boys alike can break a girl's hymen. However, this has been a tool used not only to show a woman's virginity, but also to prove her alliance with the devil. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not making it up. One of the witch trial tests was the hymen test. It was so prevalent that it persists to this day when people actually go test for virginity. And yes, there are places where people still test for virginity before getting married. It is literally the forerunner. And let me be honest with you. I have every notion in my brain that the hymen test, in fact, is not at all a test to prove virginity or alliance with the devil or anything else like that. But the hymen test started as a nasty and perverted priest's idea of a good way to cop a feel. Of course, I know there are going to be people who argue against that, and especially people of faith are going to want to argue against that, because how dare I decide that any of their pastors would do that? Except, look at how prevalent the Catholic Church had been for how long. How many cases of molestation have gone through the Catholic Church so far? And how many of those went through before Pope Francis was willing to hear them? You all know a celebrity or even a person in your own life who has been affected by a molesting priest. But put those molesting priests in front of a woman who is being accused of witchcraft because, I don't know, her neighbor's husband keeps staring at her. And his wife has decided for sure it's because you put a spell on him. It can't be that the man is creepy and will not leave me the hell alone. No, it's my spell work. And of course, I haven't experienced this personally, not like that, because witch trials have been somewhere near 100 years before I was born. But I have gone through something close to that. I have been accused of trying to get people's eyes, even though I try to get no one's eyes. I mean, you guys should know by now, if I am trying to get people's eyes, why do I advertise so very little for my channels or my books or anything else I've done? You know? But that's neither here nor there. So yeah. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I also would encourage anybody who's watching this, please. I personally did not circumcise my children, and I did that on purpose because I did not want them to have that lasting subconscious memory of pain. I did not want them to be self-conscious about what was going on in their genitals, so on and so forth. So, I encourage all of you, if you guys are not trying to follow a religious doctrine, such as the Christian idea of that being a covenant with God, honestly, I would say even if you are, I would encourage you to maybe consider the possibility of not getting your son, and in some of those countries, especially your daughter, circumcised. All you're really doing is desensitizing the nerves for them. And that is a decision. If they decide that they are not circumcised and they really need to be, that is a decision they can make as an adult. And still, especially for a penis bearer, it is far less dangerous Now, before I go, however, let me introduce why I believe this is a norm that has been cultivated in our society. For the Hymen, it's pretty obvious. For a very long time, males, I could say colonial males, but if we want to be honest about it, we have to go way back farther than colonialism. We have to go back to feudalism. Because feudalism really is the same thing as colonialism, really is the same thing as capitalism. So we go back to colonial males. So they, of course, could not control their women as well. So how in the world would they control their women? Well, of course, if they can't get their women to buckle under normal circumstances, they have to convince women that their daughters have this hymen. And this hymen indicates their virginity. And they have to keep the hymen intact if they want to be able to marry a man, because men don't like unintact hymens. Now, that is about as false as the idea that there is a difference in the feeling of a virgin compared to a non-virgin. Believe me, you guys wouldn't fall for the I'm a virgin, I've never had a man out of every girl if you could tell the difference. Believe me. And I have met many, many men who have had girlfriends who they found out wasn't a virgin even though they said they were. And they fully believed it until after they broke up. So, I know a lot of men will say, no, but I can tell. No, you really can't. I promise you, you can't. You think you can tell, and that's why you feel like you can tell. Especially for all of you guys who say, well, there's a slight difference. That slight difference is usually in here. But it has been used as a control mechanism to keep women from being too wild. Especially when you consider the fact that you have a woman who's been watched 99% of the time, and she has a Tor Hymen, and you have all these men trying to figure out why she's not a virgin when she's been watched 99% of the time, and the only other percent of the time she hasn't been watched is when she's sleeping. Well, we already discussed that, guys. Maybe she went off horseback riding. Maybe she did some exercises. Maybe she went running through the field. Yes, that is something like a Tara Hymen too, running through a field. So you joggers, y'all can't be virgins, even if you are. So yeah. But then you also have the circumcision, which, for men especially, is yet another control mechanism. How, you might ask? Well, let's see. One, you take away at least, maybe a half inch or an inch to their penis length. In a society where they are taught, if they don't have a big, well, excuse my language, but if they don't have a big dick, well, then they're not a good man. Of course, that's not true. Most of us women have been trying to impart the fact that that's not true for a very long time. But how can you believe it when the whole male half of society continues to tell you it? Despite women saying, no, I don't care. Of course, men are also taught to believe that women lie about this. It's unfortunate because many of us women are not size queens. Most of us women are not size queens. We do not want to feel like we are about to break. In fact, just to drive that point home just a little bit more, I have a friend who is rumored to have 13 inches. And every time I see him, we have this great joke about how Behemoth, which is what I call it, has to stay away from me. We'll hug, and I'll put my hips to the side just so Behemoth is not near me, just as a joke, And he and I have had discussions about how, in fact, women don't like big penises. He has the same problem as people with micro penises. Except for the fact that the size queens tend to be more of drama queens as well. But anyway, where is the control factor in that? One, again, consciously, men always worry about size because the male half of the functioning society keeps saying size is important. But also, like I said, it desensitizes that nerve bundle, whether you're male or female. And any psychologist across the board will tell you, somebody who is kept in misery is more easy to manipulate, because all you have to do is offer them a little crumb out of that misery, just for a few seconds, and they will just come running like a lapdog. It's true. So of course, if you have more trouble experiencing orgasm because the main portion of your body that is used for it is now desensitized as hell, Well, you certainly aren't going to be happy. You certainly aren't going to be wanting to skip outside into the sunshine every day. So, of course, you're more miserable. Hence, you are more malleable, more controllable, more able to push into doing things that you would not normally do. More able to be pushed into hurting people that you wouldn't normally want to hurt. So on and so forth. So, once again, I make my plea. Please, anybody who may eventually become a parent, please end the circumcision cycle. And by all means, forget the Hymen lie. Alright guys, I think I have said enough. I have almost a half hour long here, so I love you all. As you know, it doesn't matter who you are. Take care of each other, and I will see you guys in the next video.